Oh hey, it's that playthrough I keep forgetting to update. Welcome back to Let's Play Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. Last time we went through a good chunk of Meridia, and today we're gonna fight Draygon and clean up the rest of Meridia in search of a few expansions that I missed out on, and also the Plasma Beam, cause why not? So yeah, not too particularly good at updating the playthrough, and again, it's just been because of my recent Fire Emblem binge. I apologize. I don't know why I feel the need to repeat myself all of a sudden, but yeah. Uh, haven't really been in the mood to record as of late. I just suddenly had the urge to finish up things today, and here we are. Because that's just the thing, though, because I know some playthroughs of mine have suffered from my mood not being there. And I certainly don't want to go into a playthrough and not 100% be at my all when giving out my commentary for whatever game I'm doing a playthrough of, don't you know? Draygon, show your ugly oh! Right on cue. Alright, so Draygon can be tackled in one of two ways. He can either be tackled in the legitimate way, where you have to shoot his belly in order to procure any sort of damage, or you can cheese him in a way that had most definitely had been intended to be done in a method most obviously intended by the developers. Oh wow, I ended up having more words in that sentence than I thought it would. Yeah. Draygon can either be the most ridiculously difficult prick in the existence of Metroid, or an utter joke. And, yeah. I decided to give him his own taste of medicine. And that's all there really is to it. And I don't know. I don't know what it is about his stupid design, whether it's that big, giant, bulbous forehead of his. But, like, you never really see any real love from Draygon from like any sort of like legacy reference or fans or whatever. Like, everybody knows about Kraid and Ridley, especially Ridley. Ridley's been all over the place. Phantoon made a surprise appearance in Other M. I mean, I guess that could be considered a spoiler, but I mean, let's face it, Other M is 7 years old by this point. You should know by now that Phantoon is another M for no other reason other than nostalgia. And even a few fans like Phantoon, because Phantoon's kind of got this mysterious aura around him in the sense that, like, you kind of wonder what happened on the wrecked ship when the Chozo were coming over to Zebes, you know? And then you have Draygon, who just doesn't really stick out in a way that um, a whole lot of fans don't care to recollect, and that kind of sucks, you know? I like to see some more love for Draygon, because, I don't know, it's like, the way he kind of does with his little henchmen carrying him off like that, and the way, like, you know, you can kind of easily cheese him in a way the developers intended for him to be, it almost kind of comes off to me in a sense that maybe Draygon was supposed to be like this comical guardian or something, and maybe they were playing off that fact by giving him goofy looking henchmen and, well, a really weird looking design. Let's get some more Draygon love up in here. But yeah, we have the space jump, and because of that, we no longer have to worry about wall jumping to skip past various obstacles and things. So, whoopee! So, the first thing I'm going to be grabbing is the Plasma Beam, and what's really weird about the Plasma Beam is that you actually cannot obtain it until you take care of Draygon. And it's not even in a room behind Draygon, no less. It's actually in a room that's somewhat close to here, actually. And, you know, other than this one really random room in Kraid's lair that opened up after you beat him, which led to an energy tank. I don't know. This is like the only case in the game I can think of that has a door blocked off for that various reason of defeating a guardian before getting this upgrade. I don't know. It almost kind of makes me wish they did more of that, but at the same time, it's like then you're closing off more portions of Zebes than you really should. On second thought, maybe it is a good thing that they did go with this stance and design after all. I mean, it's not like we have to get the plasma beam, so at least as far as I know anyway. But it does help in the assistance of killing off these space pirates, so I can't really complain. And rather easily too. But the really weird and funky thing about the plasma beam in this game is that it and the spacer beam are the only beams in the entire game that don't stack on top of each other. And I'm guessing that this is supposed to be a callback to Metroid 2, because in Metroid 2 you kind of got the plasma beam and spacer beam within the same area. But, you know, the beams were separate upgrades. You couldn't stack them like you could in Super Metroid and later entries, so I don't know. They were assumed to just kind of be like separate beam upgrades and nothing else, not like brother, sister, counterpart beams, you know? And then this game happens, and it's like you can only have like, here, let me show what I'm talking about. You can only have either the spacer or plasma beam on. They actually fixed this in Samus Returns to where they both stack, which kind of makes sense because there was a beam called the wide beam in Fusion, and you got the plasma beam and wave beam right after that. So, I don't know. But really, just stick with the plasma beam. There's no reason to use the spacer, because like, all you're really missing out on if you're switching off of the spacer is that little beam in the middle of your shot. And honestly, the plasma beam has just as much range. I think it's a little bit faster too. Like the firing rate's a little bit faster. I could be mistaken. And it's just really freaking strong. Like, it just burns right through enemies, man. Like, there's no reason to switch it out. If you switch it out, you're wrong. You're objectively and in every way, shape, and form wrong. So now I have to go back to that quicksand area I talked about in the last part in order to get those last few expansions, which I kind of hate doing, but gotta do it. Absolutely have to do it. This is a 100% playthrough after all. Get out of my way. And yeah, there's not really much else to see in Meridia, really. Like, Meridia doesn't even really serve as, like, a connecting point to, like, most other areas in the game, like, Quiteria and Brinstar serve the purpose of. But yet, like, you don't come back to it numerous times like you do with Norfair either. So, like, once you're done with Meridia, like, if you're playing this game casually and not going for all the expansions, when you finish up Meridia, there's nothing left for you here. Which, you know, kind of makes sense because we are approaching the tail end of the game anyway. In fact, we're going to be heading to Ridley here in a bit. They kind of space out these Guardians weirdly. Like, you fight Kraid first, and then it's a good bit before you fight Phantoon. Not too long of a gap before you fight Draygon, and then right afterwards you go and fight Ridley. You're coming at him with vengeance, goddammit. Which I suppose makes sense because, like, other than the screw attack, we're pretty much completely decked out by this point, so. Give me back my baby, goddammit. And I forget if I got this expansion or not. Let's go ahead and check. Okay, I did. It's been almost a month since I've tackled the previous part of my Let's Play, so just had to brush up on memory here. Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to speed boost into there. Silly me. Alright, so let's check and see. Okay, so I already took this pit then. Thank God for a map, because I actually was gonna fall into that pit for a moment. Thinking it was the one that I haven't took yet. Can you imagine Super Metroid without a map, though? It'd be a lot worse playing this for navigation compared to Metroid 1 and 2, because, like, even though the areas are slightly more streamlined, in a sense, well, no, I'd say a little bit more streamlined than Metroid 1 at least, not Metroid 2, but, like, the areas are definitely, for a fact, like, much bigger than they were in the previous games. So it's like, Jesus, playing this game without a map would almost feel worse in some regard. Not really, because the copy-paste room issue's gone, but God damn it, now I'm just rambling. It's always a chore just trying to find that damn pit to fall into. Alright, so before I forget, one thing I had forgotten to do when getting the power bombs earlier on in the game is that I actually forgot an expansion back in Kraid's Lair that you couldn't gain access to until you had power bombs. And I swear to God, every time, it feels like almost every time I replay this game, I forget about this expansion until like the last minute. And I'm glad I looked over the footage and remembered this just now. So we're gonna head back to Kraid's Lair just for a brief moment and grab that set expansion before I end up just forgetting altogether. I mean, I could save it for last, but then I'd probably just forget it all over again, and we certainly don't want that. We certainly don't want that at all. Alright, so don't have to go too far off for this one, but it's like, it's one of those few expansions you have to go back to and go a good ways out of your designated path to get, so. Anywho, right here, throw in a power bomb. And voila! It's that missile expansion everybody and their mother forgets. Or maybe it's just me. I don't know. Yep. Alright, so with that taken care of, let's go ahead and head off to Ridley's lair. Did I just say a hen? Jesus, Ken. Alright, so, I wouldn't think we'd have to go too far out of our way for this, so. Over there to the left is a map station. I don't really need it, so we're just gonna ignore that for now. And, let me see if I can find a good quick route over to, Ridley's lair. I think that route will suffice. Just kind of taking internal notes in my head of the map real quick. So I can chart my path and destination. Okay, so we're gonna take this route right here. I didn't take this route originally because I sequence braked over to the wave beam and speed booster earlier, so yeah. People who are coming into this playthrough for some reason not watching Super Metroid prior or have played it before at least will most likely not recognize these pair of rooms. But anywho, you want to come down here? And I believe it's actually possible to go into Ridley's lair without the gravity suit. Um, Actually, it is, because there was this thing that people do called a reverse boss rush, where instead of taking the intended route for the bosses, you know, Kraid, Phantoon, Draygon, and Ridley, they go Ridley, Draygon, Phantoon, and Kraid. And I think it involves, like, I don't remember, like, I know it has something to do with the way, like, the weird suit physics work when you're in lava and you're wall jumping off of objects. I don't remember if it had something to do with, like, storing the speed booster or not, but I know it's most definitely possible to do this without the gravity suit. It's just very difficult to pull off. So, yeah, that's about the extent of knowledge you'll be hearing from me on that subject. Over to the left is a save room. I know we didn't get much accomplished in this episode, but don't you worry. We'll have plenty to do in the next video coming forward. So next time on Let's Play Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo, we're going to go and kick Ridley's ass. So see you guys then.